And now, Reverend Joanna Gabriel and her talk, Are We There Yet?
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to be with you this morning. Oh, I hope you're doing well this morning. It's great to see you and feel you. And no, you're right, Cindy, we can't do hugs, but we can do virtual hugs. And virtual hugs can be powerful. I'm learning that. And so here we are in the middle of July. And when we started this whole thing back in March, we figured by July, maybe August, we'd be through this thing. We'd all be writing our books by now. And we're not. We're not through it. And kind of sort of looks like we took a step forward and maybe we're taking a step back or maybe two steps back. And it doesn't look like or feel like as a country, we're doing everything we need to do to move forward. And that doesn't feel good, does it? No. And it makes us wonder, how long is this going to go on? Is it going to go on forever? Is this going to be our life now? Is this what's happening? Is this what we're supposed to get from this? What's true about this? What are we supposed to know? It was one thing when we thought we could kind of sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel, but now I'm not so sure. So, what are we supposed to do with this? Remember when you were a child, or maybe when your kids were little and you'd be going off on a trip or something, and you would say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Or the kids are saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" I remember once when my family took a trip to the New England. We lived in Ohio, and we took a trip to New England, and we were driving towards the Atlantic Ocean, and we couldn't wait till we got to the Atlantic Ocean. And we kept saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" My dad would tell us to be quiet and be patient, and we were getting there, and we would be there soon. My sister and I were sitting in the back seat in the car, and one of us opened one of those, those little towelette things, those little towelette when you're to wipe your hands or your face. And they have kind of a lemony scent or something. They have kind of a strong scent when you open it. Well, we just quietly opened one of those, and my father says, "See, we're almost at the ocean. You can smell the ocean air." And we were giggling in the back seat because what we knew was we'd opened a towelette thing. We weren't really at the ocean yet. And we always remember that story. I must have been about 10. Anyway, it's a time that's asking a lot of everybody and for a lot of reasons. And so you and I have the opportunity as we get together in these Sunday mornings is to remind each other what's really going on, because it can be easy to forget that. Unity talks about that we're born with a divine nature, that we're a spark of God. And because of that, we're here to be that spark of God. And as we acknowledge that and believe that, the spark becomes a flame. And then it becomes a bonfire. And it warms everything around us and everyone around us. And life changes. And that's really cool. And that's the truth of it and the truth of us. But in these days and times where things are looking and feeling so difficult, it's not easy to see that flame. It's almost like a morning when it's foggy or misty and the flame feels like it's having a hard time staying alight. How do we deal with this, guys? How do we keep going? How do you and I keep going? The truth of it is our job, our task is to keep throwing kindling on the fire. Keep checking in with that spark every day. It doesn't have to be complicated. Our practice of reading the daily word in the morning, that can get you going to remind you who you are with a different topic each day. That can help. That can be the start of it. Before you turn on the news, dear God, please do it before you turn on the news. Check in with the daily word. Check in with your own spiritual writing or reading or listening to whatever that is, to remind yourself and start your day, start your breathing with reminding yourself the truth of you before you ever touch into what's going on out there. And it can be, I get it, it can be hard because if this is the truth of us, Joanna, why the heck is it such a mess out there? Isn't it true for them too? Yeah, it is. But that's not where all of us are operating from at this moment in time. Good, bad, or indifferent. Not where we're all operating from. And I was wondering about this. Why is it so hard? Why is it so God, dear God, help me understand, why is it so hard? Why, when we see so much death and suffering and everything, why is it still so hard for us to be reminded who we truly are? You'd think that'd be the thing we would lean on right away. Why isn't it? And what came to me and what I realized is it's from a young age, we all learn to conform. We learn what the rules are, don't we? We go to school and we learn what the rules are so that we can get by, that we can deal. We don't always understand it. We don't always excel, but we all figure out what the rules are so we know how to get by, right? And even to this day, when you join in something new or go into a new space or a new thing, you look to see what everybody's doing or what the deal is so that you can begin to feel like you're a part of it by getting to conform to what the rules are, what the way it's done is, right? And we're living in a world where conformity is about conforming to a collective belief about us that isn't true. Collectively in our world, for those who believe in a God, they believe in a God that's way out there somewhere, that only if this God is merciful does anything good happen for us, that we have to be saved in order to be okay. And that's not true. We came in saved, but a large portion of us don't believe that. And a lot of us also believe that we all have to be on the same page, that I'm saved and you have to be saved. And I got to make sure that you're saved because that's my job. That's not true either. We all came in saved. We're all okay. We're all valuable. We're all God's children, God's form, God's expression, exactly as we are. But that's not the majority of belief in our world. And so there's difficulty and there's suffering and there's judgment and there's violence and death and just all kinds of things like that. And I was thinking about this in the whole idea of conforming, this thing that we have to conform. And even in some conscious circles, there has been a belief that it's about consensus, that we have to operate on consensus, that we all have to agree before we can move forward. And consensus is the conscious way to operate. Well, dear ones, have you ever had to operate a meeting or a family gathering or something by consensus? I'll tell you what, it can take half an hour to decide when you're going to have your next meeting, right? But there are many, and there could be those right here who would say, well, now, what do you mean by that, Joanna? And I'm going to suggest to you that consensus is an exercise of the ego. Uh-oh. Yeah, you know why? Because it's about judgment. It's about opinion. It's trying to get everybody on the same page with their opinion based on their experience, based on what they believe is true. And so I ask you, dear ones, when you think about the universe in all its splendor, in all its perfection, in its ever expansion, does the universe operate by consensus? No, it's ridiculous. No, it doesn't operate by consensus. What does it operate in? Harmony. Harmony. A balance of patterns, the patterns that all forms of life have and live and express from its authentic self. Do you see the difference? Have you ever thought about that? There's a harmony and consensus are very different energies. But what's required for harmony is to know yourself. Like, for example, harmony, when you're singing, we heard those wonderful guys, would you say Phil Holland, Paul Holland, somebody who did that song, Angels Among Us. My goodness, it was gorgeous. And the harmony there, the way that those wonderful beings sing in harmony is that they each very much know their part to sing. That takes enormous practice to sing in harmony. It comes from authentic place, a voice, of vibration, in order to sing in harmony, to sing in a vibration that blends. We all know what it's like when there's somebody out of tune. Oh, that feels awful. Makes all the hair on my arms stand up. Ugh. When someone's not singing in tune. And so that's very much what our world is like. It's discordant, isn't it? There's a lot of vibrations that are not blending, that are not in harmony. And it's not about these people are wrong and these people are right. It's a mishmash or mix of everybody throwing their opinions into the ring and saying what they think they're supposed to say, but us not having done the work or making the choice from our hearts, our authentic self. Because here's the thing, when we're coming from our authentic self, our God self, our divine self, our higher self, however you mean that, however you name it, there's automatic harmony. It's not a learned thing. It's something we are. There doesn't need to be a consensus because it isn't a judgment. It isn't an opinion. We're living in a world now with our social media and that's all about opinion. Make your comment, give your judgment, give your opinion. How many stars are you going to give it? It's all about everybody weighing in. And what I notice about all this weighing in is things are getting very heavy. Because we're operating from here up. Our judgments and our opinions are from here up. It doesn't involve the heart. And harmony lives down here. In the heart, the truth of who we are. You walked into everything's blooming so beautifully. And have you noticed this year, I don't know whether it's because of all the rain we had or whatever, is that everything is blooming like crazy. Have you noticed the roses and everything are so, I was looking at this trellis of roses that has been there for years and years. I've never seen it have so many flowers on it. It's almost like the universe or Mother Nature is inserting herself into even greater, with more intensity to help balance the energies. But in a garden where everything's blooming, or and the berries are blooming, oh my goodness, the blackberry blossoms, we're going to have blackberries. Oh, there's going to be a lot of pie this year. I'm just saying. But in a garden that's blooming, does Mother Nature say, okay, we're going to have a meeting here, time for consensus. Everybody's got to weigh in and tell us how you want it to look? No. Can you imagine? No. Each flower, each tree, each vine, each dandelion shows up in its authentic self, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And if it's a planned garden, or it's a meadow, you're driving along and you come upon this meadow where the wildflowers are blooming and nobody planted anything except the wind dropped the seeds. And what's more beautiful than that? Do you get what I'm saying to you? And let's, if questions or comments about this, and please unmute yourself if you'd like to share. You have a question or a comment, please feel free.
I'd just like to say I love what the Course in Miracles says about blocks to love's presence. And that's what I think of the world. It's just all these blocks to love's presence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jamie, exactly. And that's what's happening here. And we want to understand this because as conscious beings, we want to know, what's my part to heal this? What's my part? How do we get through? How do we allow the blocks to dissipate? And clearly, it's about coming from our own authentic self, because you and I are one. That makes a difference. If you and I are coming from our authentic selves and we're feeding that and we're throwing the log and the kindling on that flame, it adds to the collective fire of truth of who we are. Anybody else?
My grandchildren's other grandparents feel all this COVID thing's just a bunch of fooeyiness, and that they shouldn't have to wear masks, and that the government's just trying to control us and blah, blah, blah. And so, when we were talking the other day, I pretended I didn't know that about her. And, just liking the wearing the masks and doing things, to kids being at school and they don't want to follow the rules, like going in from recess or, blah, 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 listen to their teacher and get along, and liking them wearing masks. There's certain rules and things that even as adults that we have to do that we don't always like. And that just like the kids having to do what they're asked to do by either their parents or the teachers or whoever, that we have to do certain things that we don't necessarily believe are the right, what we want to do or that we should have to do, but we still need to do what's in the best interest of everybody. Right. And so,
Yeah. And nobody likes wearing a mask. I mean, does anybody like wearing a mask? No.
It's hot.
No.
Glasses.
No.
Glasses.
But
Yeah.
thank you for that, Nora. And along with the child part of us that doesn't want to do what's the right thing to do or what we're being told to do, I also think there's even more to that. Remember the last time I was talking to you about how the whole business for me, the whole diabetes thing and that whole thing, that I was in complete resistance to that. And what I finally got to the gift of was self-care.
Mm-hmm.
The resistance that I'd had to self-care my whole life. And I have a feeling that underneath there's a current of that in all of this too. That as we're being really tough, I'm not going to wear a mask. You're not going to take my freedom from me. And it's like, really? What? I don't see the connection, you know. But the part of us that resists self-care, that doesn't want to admit or know or get in touch with or in relationship with that I have a responsibility for self-care. And that in so doing, I'm also in support of your self-care. That we're doing it, it's reciprocal. And that's required here. And as I said, if we're coming from our authentic self, we practice self-care, which then takes care, it doesn't have to be a vote. Do you see? Because it's deeper than that. It's coming from the heart. It's about who we truly are. And who we truly are knows what to do.
So we demonstrate.
I'm sorry, dear, what'd you say?
So our responsibility is to demonstrate that.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that's
Barbara.
what I
When you
was
go
gonna
out
Yes.
and people aren't practicing social distancing, you practice manners, politeness, seeing the divinity in them,
Mhm.
because maybe they're not seeing it. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's our responsibility, I believe, is to demonstrate
Indeed.
that authenticity, demonstrate what we know that's in our hearts.
Yes.
So we're a beacon of light. We can go out there and we can demonstrate. That's very powerful.
It is very powerful. And isn't it interesting that back in the beginning in March when we were first all going through this, and some of us were demonstrating and some of us weren't. And because some of us weren't, we're going back now. We're getting the opportunity collectively to go back now because we didn't get it. A lot of us didn't get it. And so we're going back collectively to it again. And there's a lot of us that goes, well, I did it. I was wearing a mask all along. How come I have to go back? You know what, dear ones? That statement, we're all in this together. We don't get it till we all get it. That's another part of we're all one. We're all one. And so it's not about being mad or frustrated or what's wrong with these people. And believe me,
Right?
I'm not, no judgment here, because I'm the first one going, huh? What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
But when I'm in my authentic self, it's of course we keep doing it. We keep showing up. We keep demonstrating, as Barb says, because eventually there's a tipping point. And actually the tipping point is not very high. And as we do, we will move forward. We'll move forward together. And there are days when it doesn't look like that's even a possibility. I'm convinced there are days that apparently we've all eaten too much corn syrup and it's gone to our brains. It finally happened. We knew it was coming. We knew it, and here it is. I mean, trying to explain, I don't know what is going on. But in the midst of that, you and I have to continue to bloom in our garden of harmony. Do you get that? Do you get that that's our job here, our task here? Along with wearing our masks and social distancing and writing our checks to support the caregivers and the food banks and everything. And guys, I don't know that we've even seen it all yet. I don't even know that we've seen where we're going to walk on this path yet. I don't know. I don't think any of us know. It's the bumpy road we're walking, that's for sure. But you and I, in order to do this and to be part of the light, we have to continue to feed that light, to allow the light. Remember, it doesn't come in on top of anything. We have to say yes. We have to open the doors and windows. Yes, we come in with that truth of us, but we come in with it and then we choose it. That's part of what consciousness is. Choosing our way home. Questions or comments? Debbie?
Joanna, every day when I do my prayer and meditation, which is before I do anything else, it's really essential, not only spiritually, but for my mental health. But I set my intention for the day. I focus on what I hope to see for the day, and that includes, you know, the world and so on. But the Course in Miracles says all we have to do really is offer our willingness to be of assistance or help, you know, to Holy Spirit, to God, to the divine. And it will be revealed to us what is our part to do. And I help an elderly friend with her groceries. And that feels good to me. And, you know, we all play a part. We all have something we can do to help and be of service. It was driven home to me yesterday. This same friend has another friend who helps her with groceries as well. So she has more than one helper. But this other person was involved in an event with lots of little children, like a recital or something of that nature. Anyway, somebody in that crowd of 350, it was a child, by the way, came down with symptoms, right? And so now there's this process of notifying all the people that were participating in that event and their families. You've been exposed. You need to take the proper procedures now. And of course, some of them were doubting Thomas's before. So anyway, this person, this helper, is now having to self-quarantine, right? So I'm up for delivering groceries to my friend, and that's okay with me. But I'm just saying, Holy Spirit or the divine will let you know, hey, here's an area where you can help. Here's where you can be of service. Here's where you can be a blessing.
Thank you, Debbie. Absolutely. And when we're listening to spirit, when we're listening to divine, whatever you name that, and there are moments when it does look crazy, and that's the best time to ask, Holy Spirit, show me. Tell me, I don't get it. I do not get it. This does not make sense to me. It looks nuts to me. I don't get this. That's the time to ask. That's the time to breathe. Get out your Course in Miracles, your daily word, whatever it is that speaks to you. Say, show me. Show me. Show me just the next step. That's all I'm asking, the next step. Show me. You may have to turn off the TV for a while.
Thanks, everyone.
Walk outside.
Thanks.
Have you noticed in these times, your walks are more powerful than ever? Have you noticed that? That your time when you're breathing outside or standing among the trees or by the beach or just walking down the street, it feels like nature is closer.
Absolutely.
Let that fill you to overflowing.
Yes.
Let that fill you up. The places that feel empty, the places that feel lonely. Of course, we're all tired of being in the house. Let that fill you. Let those birds, the birds singing, feel it, listen, allow it, feel the embrace, ask for it. Embrace me, divine. I want to feel you. I want to feel it in me. And then we do our service, as Debbie suggests, from that place. And it gets a little easier and it begins to make a little more sense. Maybe just today. But dear ones, that's all we've always got. No matter how much, people like to make their 5-year plan and it was all great. But we all have today. That's what we've got. That's what we're working with. Anyone else? Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else?
Thanks so much, everyone, for the very consciousness-raising words from everyone. Greatly appreciate that. And I must say that with me, I guess I give a lot of emphasis to just kind of being in the present moment. And, and as I breathe deeply and do it often, it helps to keep me in the present moment and thus not be worried so much about the future or what have you. Just being in the present moment is very, very satisfying and yeah, healing for me.
Thank you, Morris.
Yeah.
Thank you. What wise words. Yes, indeed. And that's part of living in harmony. And I'm not saying that it isn't okay for you to have a consensus of where you're going to go for lunch or something.
Mm.
I'm not saying that that's not okay. It may take a while, but that's okay. That's okay. But when you're really operating from a place of authentic self,
Mhm.
authentic being, God in expression, it isn't about consensus. It's about those energies coming and blending, and they do. That's what divine order is. It's that harmony of life itself that doesn't need an opinion poll. It doesn't operate from an opinion poll. Well, how many stars does it have? Because I'm not going to buy it if it doesn't have at least 4 stars,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying here? Is this
You know
useful
how
to
many-
you?
How many conversations I've had with my grandkids who are very opposite and disagree on probably 98% of anything, given thing. And it's okay to disagree. It doesn't make one of you right and one of you wrong. You just have to be respectful in how you present your side, and there's no being mean, calling anybody stupid or their opinion ridiculous or whatever. It's the other day I pulled in and parked the car, and they said, we don't want to go here. And I says, we're stopping until you're done fighting. I says, I'm just not going to do it. And if we have to sit here in the hot car for 2 hours, I said, we'll do it. But you're not going to fight and be mean to each other. You're going to be respectful and kind. And if we have to skip lunch and be hungry, then we'll do it. But you're going to be nice to each other. And it's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
You're
And
a
you
good
know-
grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that sweet little thing of the kids fighting in the back seat. And then we're watching people marching in the streets and realizing that the way we've done things for such a long time, it's not okay anymore. We have to do things differently. And we're going to run into situations where people have opinions about how it should be. And maybe it's time to step beyond that, because clearly what we've been doing hasn't worked for a lot of people. And so it's time to open our minds and our hearts and listen
Mhm.
and go forward, maybe in new ways, doing things differently. I continue to be shocked by what I didn't know. All of this,
Me too.
I didn't know. And so that works into the mix. And again, it isn't about more opinions and more weighing in. It's about breathing and listening and coming from our authentic selves, because our authentic self does know, does love, does respect, does find the way forward. Anyone else?
Well stated, well stated.
So, dear ones, you're right. This is long. We don't see the end of it yet. In fact, it looks like we're stepping back, maybe. I don't know.
Definitely in it for a while.
We're going to be in it for a while. So, as I said before, with a wrestling with the angel, we're going to wrestle till we get that blessing. So, keep looking for the blessing. Keep looking. What's the blessing in this? What's the blessing here? What do we get from, what can we use from this to move forward? How can we be a deeper, closer community, even in the midst of looking at each other in these little boxes? I've never loved you more. I've never been prouder of you more.
Well, this all
Inspired
started close to my birthday, and I want to package it up and send it back. Return that present.
The key is to look at it as a present, not as something bad, but something that lead to
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Mark
don't
and
know,
I
lead to
thought,
something.
Mark and I were on a cruise ship when this was blowing up in
Oh my
Washington.
gosh.
And we thought that, being on a Star Trek cruise would be the weirdest thing that would happen to us in this year, but not so much.
Not so much. Well, I remember back in March. They used to have there was a cruise ship that was docked in San Diego, and they wouldn't let anybody off because of the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, that is so far away from my reality, And then all of a sudden, it's here.
So, in closing, I will move on to meditation, but first, Jamie and Barb, will you tell us how you're doing?
I'm still showing no symptoms, Barb.
I'm very much on the mend. Very much. I have to have no symptoms, but I still have a little bit there. This morning, I don't know if you've ever had a really bad chest cold, where in the morning it's just, and when it's breaking up, then you need to drink those hot liquids to kind of help. So it's breaking up. This morning it was like wanting to break up, and I'm just pounding down as hot a liquid as I could drink, and it was like kind of like a breakthrough. I really could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still there. I can still feel that fatigue that goes with my body trying to get rid of this last part of the stuff in my chest. So it kind of has fatigue that goes with that. And but I haven't had a fever in like 7 days, and it's just this last bit of congestion in my chest, and a little bit of fatigue. I think it's just sort of there. But oh my gosh, I've had feeling like normal. Take a walk around the yard, and my legs don't get all weak anymore. They were like, I'd walk and they felt so weak. All I want to do is lay down, sit down, just like close my eyes, and whether I slept or not, had no energy, but now I do. My old self is coming out, and I still have to be careful, because I still have some symptoms. So I got to make sure I'm symptom free before I go in the other parts of the house where the rest of the family is. I have to wear my mask when I walk through the house. I know. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so much better.
Oh, I'm so grateful.
Thank
Please know we love you both, and we're here for you. And if you need anything, please say so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. And know that you've got our
Blessings.
love and blessings every single day.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
We
It
know
means
it.
a lot to us.
So just so let's everybody breathe. And as we breathe, we send clear, clear breathing strength to Barb. that congestion is dissipating. That her lungs and her bronchial tubes are finding their harmony. That she and Jamie both feel the embrace of love and light. And that with each breath, they are stronger. Stronger. And as we embrace them, we embrace one another. And see us standing together around a campfire. When was the last time you did that? Standing around a campfire, hand in hand. And we say to ourselves, I give myself permission to open all my doors and windows to divine expression in me, through me, as me. God be God through me. Divine love expressed through me. And as we claim this truth of us, we see kindling and logs, pieces of wood being thrown on this campfire. We hear the crackling, and there's more, and the flame starts to rise up and rise up and rise up. And this spark of God becomes a bonfire of life itself. And the flames go higher and higher, and they are divine light. Divine light. Only love, only light, only radiance, only power, only peace, for that is what it is. And the warmth and the radiance goes out from our circle into the community. It touches everyone in the community, on the peninsula, on the islands, in the state, in the country, in the world, around our planet. And into the universe. And if there's someone you know who could especially use this warmth and radiance, this embrace, this reminder of who they truly are, feel free to say their names aloud now.
Barbara,
Luann,
Dick,
and Dick,
Mom,
Eamon, Gabriel, Justin, Paulo.
For all these dear ones mentioned here. And for all life. For as we claim it, all life is lifted up. And all who are suffering are embraced, are comforted, are encouraged. All life is lifted. in the name and through the power of infinite source, divine love, all that is. Let it be so. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Love to you. Bless.
You.